This is Radiant Voices Media.
Welcome to the Paths We Take podcast. I'm your host, Jordan DeSange. Let's hit a path. Hey there, and welcome back to the Paths We Take. Today's guest is someone who embodies what it means to chase excellence in a sport that requires three different sports within one. That's triathlon. Steve is a professional triathlete whose rise in the sport has been anything but typical. He didn't grow up swimming, cycling, running like many other elite triathletes. In fact, his path into triathlon came later, and yet he's gone on to compete at some of the highest level, as well as winning some of the biggest races in triathlon. In this episode, we're diving into Steve's journey into the sport, the mindset required to endure and perform over hours of racing, what really happens mentally in the depths of an Ironman and 70.3, and what drives someone to push themselves into those limits in not one, but three sports, essentially. This conversation isn't just about triathlon. It's about resilience, it's about identity, it's about discipline, and what it takes to pursue something relentlessly. Steve, welcome to the show. Sweet. Well, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on. The first question that I like to start with is, if somebody listening right now had an autobiography in front of them and it was yours, basically, what are some things that you think that they would find in there that you think are key moments, basically?
Oh, maybe I should have prepped. Thanks for having me.
That's all right.
I always thought that the feedback has always been on me as a person is happy, sort of strange sense of humor at times, or a strange person, close friends would say.
Yeah.
And strange mostly because hard to fathom why I'd want to do what I've done with my life, which seems to the normal person, you're in the running circles, so you get it, but always having been so addicted to something in particular. And I guess some people have always said, oh, you like the relationship with pain must be good and all that. I'm like, nah, so yeah, there's I think people have always, maybe there'll be a few key moments which would revolve around being a gutsy, determined person in sport, and then just a really emotional, loving, happy person. But that's an overall pretty broad thing. I can't really think of moments because there's sections of life which was for me, full running focus until year 11, then full uni and study focus for a couple of years with a lot of drinking and football, and then a triathlon period. So the story so far just has three parts, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, it's I'm a frantic mess. That's the key. There's a lot going on all the time, and I've always been late everywhere I go. That's probably a key.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. So there's probably severe ADHD undiagnosed.
You're on time today. So. Maybe it's running. Maybe you need to run everywhere.
Oh, basically. I don't know how long it takes to get somewhere in a car, but running, I'm like, oh yeah, if that's 9K away, it'll be exactly this much time.
There you go. Well, it's a funny concept, right? To people, my social circle, a lot of it is fellow runners and whatnot, but some of my best friends don't, and they look at me strangely oh, you wake up at 5 a.m. to what? Do 9K or what? Why are you doing that? Or why are you paying money to run a marathon? What are you doing with your life? It's funny because I feel unless you are so obsessed with running, sometimes, you might not understand it, or you might not get it. Yesterday we were just talking, there's the Moana and then the semaphore, and one of my best friends just did the semaphore, and I was texting her, oh, did you finish? Did you love it? The Adelaide Marathon's next. She's not a runner at all, and she just did it because she wanted to. She got roped into it, and she's like, nah, won't be doing any other runs. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine, right? It's not you don't get the runner's high, I think, right away, or not everybody ends up getting the runner's high at all, really.
Yeah. I think also you you get addicted to that little feeling of being out of breath because you know what it brings. You know the feeling. I don't get fulfillment out of a day unless I got something out of it fitness wise. So I get a bit grumpy if I don't. Even if I didn't have a goal like for a few years there, I'd still had to go for a run or something. So yeah, it's they can't fathom not being comfortable. Why would you want to be so uncomfortable? It's like, well, kind of like being out of breath. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we all get it once we're in it.
Yeah, brings calm, I guess, sometimes to some of us. Now, what I'd love to do is go back into, you were saying that, there was a period where there was running, there was a period when there was footy and then triathlon. Where did it start for you? Where did sport start for you? And was it kind of triathlon? Was it running? What was the first thing for you, basically?
Yeah, it was always running. It was just long distance running, like the guys that run Your Runners One group. Like I recall a lot of state trips where they would have been just slightly younger than me, I'd say, but on the same running for South Australia. So it was always running, and I wanted to get back to it at some point, but I had a bad relationship with running eventually because if something's everything to you and it disappoints you a few times, you can get pretty angry at it. So my life changed a lot because I didn't want to give running up. I didn't want to become what would call a normal person, like not chasing something big, just happy to like have your normal life. And I don't think they're not like other people aren't not striving for things. They've got goals, but I think there's something different about a sports goal. There's something that like a career goal, I think you can chase it, but you can also have a lot of fun. Whereas a sports goal, it's just different and you're not a normal person because it affects every other part of your life because it means you have to live a certain way. So I've always struggled with living a certain way because I do like other things in life too. So it's a constant battle. But yeah, it was always running. Just played every other sport and then my mates were playing footy. That's the only reason I played footy. I was more just trying to finish a law and marketing degree. But having fun playing footy just was the go for a few years on the side and you get some sort of drive out of that too. So trying to play better, I guess, or gain weight because you're a skinny runner.
Yeah, story all too well known myself. But I think it's interesting because like you were saying, people who might go for the career route or, the typical 9 to 5, for example, like, yeah, it's not like they don't have a goal, but like you were saying, I think the thing about, a professional athlete, and we've had many on the podcast as well, and one thing that I've come to know is it can be very unpredictable at times as well, with injury or with just kind of what's coming in the future and all of that. And I think that's not something that a lot of people might understand about, someone like yourself going after the goals that you've gone through. Because sometimes it is more of a linear path when you do the uni route and then you do the, 9 to 5 or whatever. Like, yeah, you're chasing that, but like it's not like the path is intertwined and you have your ups and downs as much as maybe an athlete would, I think.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a risk. It's a big risk. You have to have a lot of self-belief, and that's why I stopped running because I'd lost that. I would go to nationals and be a complete mess in the head. Like I just couldn't do it in the head, and then I came back and had perspective because it doesn't. None of it actually matters, and I don't even care a week later. So why was I so nervous and stressed? But yeah, you're right. I know so many incredibly driven people that are close to me, but they're not what you'd call a professional athlete or a sports person. It's just, it just doesn't, their drive doesn't absorb their whole life. That's the key difference, I think. And that's what probably people don't get, the risk, like because I was completely broke for 5 years trying to become a triathlete, learning how to swim and ride at like 23. So some people might not have got that, but most of them like were really like supportive of it and thought it was awesome that I would just, as you said, the linear part, just change, did a 180 and said, screw this. So I had 3 law subjects left and I still do. I just can't get back to do them. That wouldn't have been good for me. And that's why I had so much support, because I think they knew what my calling was, probably doing something like what I did in the end. And eventually, you do something for long enough, if you know that you're probably going to be good at it, but you work at it for long enough, you will somehow make a living off of it. So that's what happened. I think I started winning races eventually, and then you don't make money straight away. You got to build up sponsorships, so you have to win a lot of races, and then so eventually I started making money off of it, which was awesome. And then I started making okay money to the point where I'm like, okay, now I'm actually financially comfortable. Not like well off, you can't be as a triathlete, but I'm okay. And then I decided I was over it. So I'm like, what? So it was the sacrifice. I was like, the next step is like, it's not about money ever. It never was, clearly, because there wasn't much to make. But the next step would be trying to be a world champ, and I just knew with 2 kids and the level of sacrifice became too great. So yeah, at some point it is too much for even someone like me who is strangely chasing that stuff without wanting a job on the side, making sure I give it everything. Yeah.
All right, I want to talk to you about sunglasses made for runners by runners. That's why I wear Re Your Run sunglasses. Lightweight, zero bounce, and they stay locked in even when you are sweating through speed sessions, long runs, out in the sun, whatever it might be. They are stylish enough for daily wear, durable enough for race day, and just the perfect combo. Honestly, I love brands that get the sport, get the grind, and support the running community, not just the podium finishers. If you're serious about your run gear and want shades that perform as hard as you, go check out Re Your Run. Use my code Jordan10 to save some money and get yourself some stylish sunnies that actually perform and look good. Run smart, stay protected, look good doing it with Re Your Run sunnies. All right, let's talk about supplements that actually earn a spot in my routine. Not hype, just results. I love the Tropica matcha because I love clean energy without the crash. But also I like how this matcha is smooth, it's not bitter, and I genuinely look forward to having it every day. There's also the pineapple creatine. Creatine isn't just for muscle performance, you guys. There is more research coming out about how it supports mental clarity, mood, etc., etc. If you train, think, move, breathe, you should be taking creatine, in my opinion. At nighttime, I also love their beauty custard. It legit tastes like dessert and supports recovery while I sleep. It is collagen, so it's great for the skin, the hair, joints, longevity. Both men and women, everybody should be taking collagen. You guys can use my code JORDSTAY10 at checkout to save yourself some money. That's JORDZDAY10 at checkout. JORDSTAY10. Thank you, everybody. Now, you were saying that you kind of needed to learn swimming, riding at 23, which I think sometimes for triathlon, when people are in the sport, not necessarily late, but like a lot of kids these days are starting when they're, 10 or whatever. What did that transition look like for you when you were, going from running to triathlon? What was the reasoning behind that at that point?
Well, I never would have found it. I just wanted to get back to running. But I broke my leg playing footy, and I'm like, oh, well, that's it, because I had a manual car, so I couldn't drive that with a cast on for 14 weeks and no weight bearing. And so then I can't drive my car. I'm a landscaper on the side of my law degree, so I can't now work. So I'm moving back with my parents. So I had to get out of the rental I was in. And, I'm just playing amateur league football. There's no support. So I was kind of screwed. Finished the most law subjects I ever have in that period,
Okay.
which was great because I was stuck doing nothing but studying.
Yeah.
But I nearly went crazy. So I read this article, and it was Richard Everest. He was an absolute jet when we were kids, the most talented by far in SA. He would win nationals against Ryan Gregson. They would kind of go back and forth winning. He's a name that went to the Olympics a few times. But yeah, there was this article, and it was like, years on from junior running. I'm like, whatever happened to Richard? He was just, all he did was running, and he was amazing. Never heard anything since he was like second at the city debate at the age of 16 or something. And then I read this article, and it was Richard just wants to run, and it just brought me to tears. It was like he had a botched surgery, just a quick surgery, fix up a toe that was having some issues, and he could never run again because of this whatever went wrong in the surgery. And it was really emotional from his quotes that that were in the article, like just explaining that how much he wanted to run. It was all he cared about, and that he has to get on with life and accept that he can't. And I'm like, wow, I'm taking this for granted. So the goal was just to get back into running and quit footy, but I wanted to get fit before I started running again, and this leg was a mess. So I started cycling and swimming with my feet tied together. So with your feet tied together, you're going to have pretty good technique to even move. So I had to learn an okay technique in that 14 weeks. And then I rode on the gym bike a lot, and then went up some hill, Norton Summit, this local hill, on my dad's bike. It was the first ride I did outside ever, and just in like sneakers and footy shorts. And I chased this group up, just trying to get like a really good workout in. And it turns out it was like a sassy coach for the cycling team. So they recruited me, and did like 2 months with them, but kept crashing and thought that maybe straight lines is better for me, having just learnt how to change gears and everything. And then and the clip-in shoes, like, did you ever fall off when you first started riding? Did it heaps in front of like Olympians?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought maybe triathlon. I don't know if I'm a good swimmer though, like just an okay swimmer, I think. And I came out of the water first, and then I won my first triathlon. And just a little local thing. But I was like, oh, sweet, maybe I'll do this, because this foot, I couldn't do many Ks on it anyway. It was pretty badly hurt. So it was going to take a long time to get Ks up. And triathlon, you only have to do like 60 or 70. So for my whole career, I just did that. And went pro within like 11 months. It just seemed to be what I was made for. And although I'm made for it, I do like running probably more. But it's just, I can just exercise all day, and I love exercise. So now like I've done like 12 years, maybe 11 as a pro, and it's to do anything new and not just win the same races. I have to commit even more, and I just can't. It's already killing my family, as in like time away, not being present, and just being a zombie all the time, because it's 30 hours of training. Running, you could do 10 hours and be a good runner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, like, that's something that I think is hard to understand. Like, you don't have just the runs, then you have the rides and the swim on top of it. And sometimes the rides, like when I was training for 70.3, like spending 3 hours or 4 hours on a Saturday, like that's pretty much all your morning gone. And I'm in a fortunate position. I don't have, kids or a family, so I can sacrifice that time. But at the same time, then you're getting home and still go for a run, and then I'm like napping the rest of the day because I'm so exhausted. And like, I think it's very hard to understand why you would want to do that, and then B, like, oh, no, sorry, I can't come out for lunch, or I can't come out for dinner because I'm just so tired, right? What I'm interested to chat about, though, is when you broke that leg, you couldn't run. You found that article, but what mentally were you going through? Because I think that's a hard thing too. When something you love is taken away from you and you can't do it. I went through something similar in 2023, and I'll never forget the feeling of going in for emergency surgery, it being something that like I couldn't say no to, but then literally not being able to run for like 5 months. And again, I've run since I was a kid, and having that taken away from me, but then also not being able to go to the gym or like just be active in general. Like, I think I was, no, I don't think, I know I was quite depressed for those 5 months. And it's a feeling that like you can't really describe as well, because again, like something that you've done for so long that like, I don't want to say you identify yourself with, but at the same time, like I do identify as a runner.
Mm.
and then you're not for like 5 months. It's a very difficult period. What was that like for you?
Yeah, well, and your first questions now, like I could answer them better after we've had a chat. So there's one of the key moments in my life, because I went from having a certain perspective to losing something I love, and it was 14 weeks on the crutches, and it's a first world problem. I don't want to talk it up to be, but yeah, it's all relative to the world you're in, and the world we're in is a pretty nice Australian lifestyle. So yeah, emotionally I was a wreck, and I was really angry as well. So they're the kind of times where you'll like I did a 180 on in the way I was living my life, because I'm like, all right, no more depressed Sundays being completely hungover. And I have to admit, I do still love to go out and meet my friends, and I'm just not depressed because I know I'm going to probably train all week anyway. But it was, like the monotonous um, every weekend sort of like, am I taking this talent that I've got for granted? And not even just that, I just love running, but I can't today, and I can't for the next few days because I just had a huge night. So yeah, basically, that's a key moment. It changed everything for me. It changed my like goal was like, hopefully I can get a law job, but I just didn't think I liked it enough to be competitive. I wasn't getting the grades to be competitive either. There's so many people that do a law degree. It's just not that impressive anymore. There's so many people that can do it. All you're doing is proving you can read and write. Because I think it's time with law. It's not even, I wouldn't say it's that hard. It's just a lot of time. You have to read a lot and then know your stuff for the assignment. And that's just time. Anyone can do it. But yeah, so that was my issue. I don't want to be doing that. So the only way to be competitive was to like, I went through this really dark period and like joined the Army Reserves just before the broken leg thing. Just trying to like maybe that'll get me competitive with um, getting a law job, or I can join the full army if I like it enough and do the officer thing with the law degree. So yeah, there's a lot of dark times, like, but like it's hard to say because people have had way harder times than just a first world problem with like, oh, but it's just yeah, I don't know. I'm so comfortable, so it's hard to say like, um, I had dark times because like I'm just this kid who went to one of the lower private schools, and like, am I really complaining? but but yeah, it's all relative, as I said. So yeah, the one thing, and like even in recent times, another key moment, had a year last year where I came to terms with the fact that I probably wouldn't be doing pro triathlon again, and that's my identity. It's the only purpose I've known for 12 years is to get up and hopefully get fitter today, and stronger today. And I started working on the brand that I built most days and doing a bit of running on the side, and just felt weird. Didn't feel right. Yeah, just and the other key moments in life will come up in this chat, I'm guessing, because it's hard to think of. That first question threw me, but but yeah, as we go through, it's clear that the broken leg was a big turning point. And another one has been recent in the last year where I got out of the triathlon bubble, and that's not everything to me. I've realized I've got a better perspective on, like, I've put that sport before everything for a long time, and I shouldn't have. Um, I've probably not seen friends and family as much as I should have, and I could prioritize them better. And that's kind of the journey I'm on right now.
You were saying that, you won your first few races with triathlon when you were getting into it. You realized that, that was it for you basically back then. Where did that kind of go from there basically? Like how did you get into that pro space from those early days?
It happened quick because, other people might have a slower journey because I fully committed straight away, and they might not have. So if anyone's out there going, I want to go pro, then you have to be realistic and do what I did and quit everything on the spot. So I did that first race. I was like, yeah, I could do this, and I know what to do. So I quit uni immediately. Not quit, but like put on hold. Didn't do another subject for a number of years because it just doesn't fit in with that much training. I quit my job immediately. Had a very supportive boss who was a runner in the past, and he was like, "Mate, chase this." So quit the landscaping job. That would not go hand in hand with trying to train all day. Um, so yeah, just tried to, I did have to work. I did I found a job in a call center, but it's sitting my bum, from like 7 to 11 at night. So it was 4 hour shifts most days. Yes, I'm up late, but I'm sitting on my bum and I've got the whole day to train. So that's what I started doing for a long period. Um, and yeah, it's uh it's the full commitment that got me to where I wanted to be quickly, because you're training a lot, and and then any savings I had, I would go on like a 3 month training camp and race in France. So yeah, just like learnt the trade really quickly and threw myself in. I did like 19 races in 16 weeks in France, and just learnt how to do all the little things in triathlon. Um, and yeah, it's a one way to fast track it is just to go all in. You have to with this sport, especially with the late start that I had.
Mm. What are kind of things that you'd like, aspiring maybe pro triathletes to know? Because I think you mentioned some interesting things, like, the money that you were earning went into training, went into camps, went into travel for sport. I think one thing about Australian athletics, Australian running, and even triathlon is a lot of these, championships and things are overseas, and you need to fund that somehow, right? Which a lot of people might not understand. It's it's easy to think that, like, or it's, like, I think we think, oh, you go pro, cool, like you're gonna get all these sponsorships, and, like, you're gonna be able to go travel the world. And yes, you are, but like that needs to come from somewhere, right? So, like, what are some things behind the scenes, similar to what you mentioned, do you really have to focus on when you want to go pro?
Yeah, if you do want to go pro, um, it's hard. But you either need parental support in some way, and if you don't have that, then you do have to work and get a job where you're off your feet. And I would say 4 hours a day is good because you can still fill your time. And I would say fully commit, because, um, as you said, without kids right now and a family just yet, you have the freedom to train all weekend outside of work hours. But that goes. So you need to make it. You need to make it. It's a rush, because you need to make it before you get that partner who wants to settle down and have kids. Because it's not then your dream's done. You need to use those years you've got where you can just go riding all day with your mate and they're all studying, and yeah, because that goes quick. Like, I had to build my base in that period. I didn't realize that this full-time triathlon thing was still going to be limited to a 9 to 5 once, and limited on weekends with family stuff. I didn't realize like the starting a family and having a partner you love was going to interrupt training so much, but you want it to, because that's what's really important in life, is the connections and, family, not the achievements or the triathlon. So whilst you're either single or don't have kids, or the commitments, and a little bit of parental support, or just able to have a small income and just do like the 4 hours a day or whatever at night, or in an office, whatever it is, you need to make the most of it. It's short lived. It lasted for like 5 years for me, but thankfully I built a huge base in that period where I trained like crazy. And then you can refine things from then on, but you need to use that 5 years before things get complicated in life.
Do you think somebody needs to have a certain mental space to, be winning races, to be going into, all of these scenarios? Like, to separate, let's say, a pro triathlete from someone like a weekend warrior, for example, like, what do you think the mindset is like, for the difference between the mindset between those two people?
I think the difference is that the best, or the pros, or the successful pros, they can take more risks because they do have delusional optimism. They're so confident in their abilities. Um, And I think that's the key difference, that the others won't take the risk because they don't truly believe deep down, which is probably smart because you'll ruin your life if you actually don't have the talent or the mindset for it. So maybe it's probably a confidence thing, and um not arrogance, but like probably an unwarranted confidence, you need it. You need a bit of an ego, and you need to fully commit and take risks. So yeah, there's a certain type of person who goes all in because they take risks. Um, and I could have pushed further and taken more risks, but there's people well more driven and less risk adverse than me, and obviously even more delusionally optimistic. Some people I so respect their resilience in triathlon. I don't know how, in some people's position, how they stuck around and how they kept coming back after so many poor performances or not reaching their potential, or DNFs or whatever, because I had a pretty good run and a pretty consistent run, and I put that down to the confidence thing potentially, and the confidence to take a proper taper, the confidence in myself. But there's some people who have had a bad run, and I just don't know how they would stuck. I wouldn't have stuck around as long. I don't think I would have gone, okay, this doesn't make sense. I'm ruining my life. I need to make money and get ahead in life and get that degree done or whatever it is. So yeah, but I have a lot of respect for it. I have a lot of respect for lots of triathletes who have done it longer than me. I did it for 12 years, and I see them dying on the side of a road in Kona at the World Champs. And I go, oh my God, they still want to dig that deep? Like, I don't think I want to dig that deep for any minute. Like, it's so unhealthy. But now that I've had these two daughters, I'm like, I want to be here for when you're 18 and doing all these cool things. Like, I feel like I'm killing myself.
Especially if it's that long, really, as
Yeah,
well.
I feel like with the level that triathlon's got to, and most sports, the level that, or the lengths that people are taking this training to, they're like, I've heard of people. Obviously, women have lost their period in this sport a lot. I've heard of teeth falling out, lots of skin cancers being removed. I've heard of blokes rocking up to training rides and just randomly having this moment where they're like, "Who are you?" And they just, where did that come from? And there's a lot of heart issues in this triathlon space. All of the old guys who did a 20-year long career have had real big heart issues. I forgot what they're called. They'll have to have, anyway. The heart's not ticking right, and they need to get it back in the right rhythm, or they're having, I think it's called a blue. I don't know how to pronounce this word, but they have to get something burnt off that's not doing the right thing. There's an operation in particular that lots of them are getting. So it's scary. So again, I respect the resilience and the being okay with almost killing yourself. I'm like, I did it for a certain amount of years, where you push that hard to the point where you pass out, and I did that here and there, but I don't want to do it anymore. It's like, it's too scary. Like, now that there's something to lose, maybe I had less to lose back then. I don't know. But it's still cool. Like, seeing people push hard. Like, I can push hard, but only a certain amount of times per year now. And I really know my limits now after passing out so many times in the past. So knowing those limits is cool, because it's not worth spending 2 days in hospital after a race. I'll just pull out or start jogging. Yeah.
It's I don't know if funny is the word, but like it's interesting to think of something like this, like an activity which is considered healthy, quote unquote. But then, like you're saying, you have people that, have heart dysfunctions, or, after a full length Ironman are needing to go to the hospital on IV drip, or whatever it might be. Like, those are all stories that I've heard as well. And like, you also are like, oh, like, is it really healthy, to be doing something that, like, for something to be considered healthy and activity, but then I guess you do have to be a bit unhealthy in a sense if you want to hit that elite status, or, if you want to push yourself to that limit, really. And I think that's what I have always found interesting about triathlon. I don't know that there are a lot of other sports like it where you have to, like, it's an endurance sport, of course, but like, for you to have to endure that much, like, there's really nothing as comparable, I don't think, when it comes to like a long form triathlon like that. Did you always gravitate towards the long forms, or what was it like for you when you were competing?
Yeah, I think I'm just better at the long stuff. I think so. I went for it. Feel like I can suffer moderately for a long time, but I don't like the VO2 suffering as much. Even though it's short lived, it just almost there's a level of am I going to pass out or not, and you can go to this deep place. But I can train enough to condition my muscles to suffer moderately for a long time. So that's a strength of mine that I realized, and I go for the longest stuff. But the longest stuff is probably the most unhealthy. So that's what I started having an issue with. I'm like, damn, the one I'm best at is like, because VO2 max stuff, you could train 20 hours a week and be really good at it, and it's a bit more healthy. But the long stuff where you're just a zombie, that's not great. And like, I had never had a feeling in my life, and then you have to train on this sugar all day. So I was just having sugar until like 2 p.m. after like 2 pieces of toast in the morning, and I fuel a 6 hour bike and run. And then it would be 2 p.m. I'll have a very small lunch. I was just so sick of being starving. And then I'd have to go swim 4K, and I'm like, actually, absolutely wrecked already. And just started getting a bit angry about it, just thinking like, so irresponsible, these blokes that are making me train this much. They're getting so good and they're training so much, but then they'll do something great, like incredibly great, and then they're injured or something happens or whatever, health issue. And you're like, yeah, because you made us all you went too far and you're making us have to go too far to not be embarrassed by losing by 10 minutes. So yeah, it's cool what how far they've taken the sport. But I feel like it's a bit irresponsible
Well,
to the rest of us
yeah,
too.
yeah, I know. But when you were going through this journey of competing and at a professional level, did you go into every race with an optimistic mindset, or what did you go into the races with? How was your mind before the race, going into the race, and during?
Yeah, yeah. I always thought I could win a race that I rocked up to, unless it was the world champs, and then I was probably either a little more nervous or just very accepting of the fact that I'm not the world champ yet, but I want to see where I'm at, and then it's a stepping stone. But most of the other races I'd enter ones that suited me. So I always thought, I'm one of the good chances to win here, in my head at least. Other blokes thought the same thing, heaps of them. And that's why I came second heaps. Like, you have to have the perfect day to win in these things. Like, you can have a really good day, but someone is going to have their freak day for the year out of that start line of 40 blokes or whatever, maybe more. So yeah, someone's going to have their freak day, and hopefully it's mine. And I usually had one or two a year where I'd win, but at least I knew I was probably going to be on the podium in most of the races I chose. And if I wasn't, I was super disappointed. And that's a good thing. That's like the anger that you need and the frustration that you need to not let it happen again. And that's just purely because I knew my prep was amazing. Probably would bail on a race if the prep was really bad. But it's always, I had this thing where I didn't take long breaks, and that was probably bad for me eventually. But I didn't take long breaks because I always got sick in the back part of my career with kids. So before I came here, I told you my daughter had gastro and she spewed up on me. So I'll rush back there and my day is done probably. I have to just, grandparents got her, but they're not going to, yeah, I mean, I want to be around as well if she's sick and spewing. So yeah, that like if I cop that, then my consistency's gone in training, and I just don't know how people stay consistent. But it's probably the fact that they pull the kids out of childcare or they don't have kids yet. That's who I'm up against, and we just didn't believe in pulling them out of childcare until now. Maybe I wish we did it when I was training Ironmans, but yeah, there's just the consistency is everything. But for that reason, I just had to not take breaks and stay fit all year round, and I just knew it was a good chance at most races because of that. Yeah, I wasn't really like peaking at any time. I'd only peak if I got 8 weeks together where the kids didn't get me sick, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm on here. So yeah,
What you hit an interesting point there just not too long ago, and it was that if your prep didn't go as planned or whatever, you'd pull yourself out. And I think like as an athlete, you have to be quite aware for that, like to pull yourself out of a race or, not to go into something and then injure yourself or whatever. Like you have to look at the bigger picture in the long run. Were you always like that throughout your career, or was that a skill that you had to learn throughout the years?
I think I was always like that. It was kind of annoying for family because they would book trips in advance to save money, and I would book 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
And I would cancel half the time. So they stopped planning ahead. And I felt really bad because I bailed on world champs heaps of times because the prep wasn't good enough. I can't go up. If this is a business at the end of the day, I need to make money off this sport. Otherwise, my family's. I can't just waste. I can't just throw 20 grand away at a race in the US or Switzerland. Um, it's a lot of money to go and get the travel out of the way and be there for a few weeks before the world champs. It's a big project. And I thought, well, I'm just throwing away 20 grand. Why would I do that? I'll just have to skip. But yeah, because so it's pretty frustrating for others because they've booked the trip and to support you and then they're going on the trip and they're probably going to the race and watching a bunch of randoms. So yeah, it is frustrating, but everyone eventually learned, don't book a trip. Steve will change his plans, but I had to, like, it's my job. So I begged people not to plan ahead. So, yeah, and it's the same still. Like I'm at the moment, I want to do Manchester Marathon, but if things don't go perfectly, I have to change that plan, and it might mean that a month later I'm in the perfect condition to do it. But yes, plans always had to change because preps, you're just peaking at different times, and there's always a race. There's always something you can change, and it's not the case for an amateur because the amateurs will have to plan, and it's their holiday, it's their leave for the year. Whereas technically, I always was on leave. I could change plans very quickly. Never book in advance. I pay top dollar as a negative. Like if you're booking 2 weeks out, there's no accommodation left, and the really bad accommodation now costs more than the good one. So I really screwed myself over a lot in some ways, but it meant that I could not have to plan ahead. I'm not very good at planning ahead either way.
Mm. It sounds like too, like, I mean, I think we all know, if you know anything about triathlon, you know that strategy is quite key into it. And what you just described is a lot of strategy behind the scenes as well, and prep and just kind of work that goes on behind the scenes leading up into it, as well as strategy inside of an actual triathlon. How much do you think is strategy versus training or endurance? When it comes to the lead up, when it comes to race day, how much do you think is strategy versus performance? Do you think there's, a 50-50 split, or like, what do you think is more important?
I think the fitness is more important because you can make really stupid decisions in a race and still be on a podium or win if you're fit enough. But you really do need to be tactical if you've not done the perfect prep. So because there's a 12-meter draft rule in a long course triathlon, but that's still, you get a big benefit from that. So yeah, there was some blokes that won races at times because they just sat and went unnoticed, and then they just had fresh legs because they're getting 100 watts less to push on the bike due to sitting behind blokes like me that race like an idiot. But I was trying to get fit enough so that I could, if you sit on the front but you just sit below at a level that you could still run this time that could win the race, then it doesn't really matter. But I used to get really, really frustrated, if I was honest, with the people that did that. So because I got so frustrated at that tactical move from people, I thought it was kind of a weasel move. I wish I didn't because it was stupid. I could have just played the cat and mouse game too. But and because I was pretty vocal about it, I kind of, well, I'm not in a position now to do it because you've been pretty vocal about not doing it. So yeah, I would I battled with that my whole career, and I could have won more races if I was a smarter tactician. But yeah, so I mostly went for the get fit so that any tactics aren't going to beat you, maybe.
All right, team, quick shout out to today's sponsor because they've genuinely been a game changer for me personally, and that is U Foods. So here's the thing, no matter what your goals are, fat loss, muscle building, training for something big, or honestly just trying to survive a busy week, U Foods has meals that actually taste amazing. And I'm not talking about those sad frozen meals that taste like fake ingredients and disappoint you every single time. These meals taste fresh, they taste real, and they don't feel like you're on a meal plan at all. I literally look forward to them. But the real reason that I'm obsessed personally is time. My time is everything, and saving literally 3 to 5 hours a week from grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning the kitchen, that honestly is priceless to me. Those hours go back into my training, they go back into this podcast, into the other podcasts that I produce, and just my sanity as well. So, if you've been thinking about giving pre made meals a go, or you just want to make your life so much easier, use my link in the show notes and you'll get a free box of meals to try out. Seriously, try it. If you're anything like me, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Later on in your career, when you were coming and wrapping around, like, you're saying that this has been going on for 10, 12 years, really. How did things shift over the journey when it comes to like, throughout your career, you had a family, you had other responsibilities as well, and you clearly like through the last half of that, clearly like learned how to manage it all. But of course, you mentioned you had to make sacrifices in that. And I think a lot of people don't understand that unless they're in that position or unless they get into that position. What did the backhand hand of the career after the first few years look like for you? How did things kind of look differently from the beginning?
I think you're able to commit a little less eventually, because you've done the base, you've done all that work. I also was finally a bit more relaxed at races because I was very confident in my abilities. I also was more relaxed with the fact that the sacrifice was understood by my friends, and it was pretty early. I just didn't realize. I was always like, oh, I wish I could, and um, I was skipping a lot of events and or away or whatever, and I always felt really bad, and they knew that, but they were really supportive, and I wish I knew that early days. I wasn't in my own head thinking like, wish I could see my friends more because they just totally understood, and I know that now. They were so on board with the achievements I was or whatever. Some of them would sit me down when we were drunk at the late night when would be there, and they were like, "Hey, we're proud. Like, relax, just come and have no beers. Come and be there." Because what I'm like is like if I rock up and it's fun, I'm like, well, screw it, I'll have 10 beers,
Yeah.
and they're like, you don't have to do that, just be present, it's fine. So yeah, I could have actually been a lot more present throughout my whole career. So yeah, later days I was just getting a bit better at all that. Still wasn't any balance though. That's why I had to quit. Triathlon, there's just no balance in life. It's just not a thing. And anything people want to do, this just goes for everyone. If you want to be great at something, there's heaps to sacrifice. If you want to be great at anything, it takes all of you. So yeah, you're going to disappoint and you have to say no a lot. I wasn't very good at saying no early days. So the good thing in the back half of my career is I got a lot more confident in my influence with brands. I got a lot more confident in my abilities. And so I could start saying no. And I started thinking about my family more. But as I said, it's still never enough in triathlon. It just takes everything.
I think too, like it's hard unless you have maybe a family member that's gone through it, or unless you have gone through it yourself. It's very hard to imagine, the amount of time that it goes through, and like what you mentioned that, your friends understood and all of that. I think that's quite important too, because a lot of the times I think when you are going after something, even like I think an amateur athlete, like even if you're training for a full course like Ironman or something, it takes a lot amount of time. And I think sometimes athletes might just be a bit embarrassed of, saying no to the things and whatnot. So they don't tell people their goals or they don't say why or whatever. And that's when things get a bit fishy. But I think like a common thing that's come up on the show before, it's like if you are honest on what you're going for, I think it makes it a less like awkward when it comes to, saying no to all of these events or whatever. Cause yeah, you do wanna be with friends and family and everything, but at the same time, if you wanna finish, like, an Ironman's not a short thing to do for anyone, really,
Mm.
professional or amateur, like, you do have to put in those sacrifices, really, which is not a lot of people again, unless you're actually going for something like that, not a lot of people will understand, I think.
Yeah, I admire um, the sacrifices and the commitment that amateurs have more than the pros because I always did a bit on the side. Um, so it was a bit more sacrifice because I was doing not just being I wasn't just being a pro. I always did something small on the side. And then at the end it was very different. Building nerd belts on the side was just a nightmare. But it made me even more appreciate what the amateurs have had to go through because if they're any good at Ironman in like especially if they're any good because to get good whilst having a full-time job, that's a lot of hours. And that's a lot of balancing the needs of your partner or kids or so yeah, how they've done it. You just really need to get everyone around you on board, and you really need, like you said, you got to be honest and you got to get vulnerable and go, look, this means this much to me. I'm on this journey. It's not going to be forever, but get on board. They have to get their friends and family on board because otherwise they're not going to be their friends and family for very long because you're definitely out doing the training mostly. But it's only a small part of people's life usually. It doesn't. That's why triathlons. It's such a big commitment that no one is all in for much of the year. But you got to go. All right, uh, the race is in June. Just give me 4 months. Being like,
Obsessed. Yeah.
obsessed and
Yeah.
like everything's about that. And then I'm back. You've got me, and you've got more of me. I promise. So I think they're making deals to get that next race out. It'd be so hard. Yeah, I really admire the commitment, but yeah, I feel like they're short-lived triathlon journeys because someone eventually will put their foot down. So they, unless they do it right, and that's being vulnerable and saying, look, I really need this. I'm taking my life back, and I've heard that a lot from the amateurs, and because I always thought like, why would you sacrifice that much when it's just for fun, and make it not fun because the pressure's on. Because if I'm sacrificing this much, my partner is going to expect that I'm going to do it right and at least finish. So it's tough. It's the pressure is on. I'm like, why? I always felt at the start like, why are they nervous if it's just for fun? There was lots of questions for me, but eventually I got it. I'm like, geez, they've put life on hold for everyone around them, like I have. So if I've got a lot of sacrifice as a pro, and I don't even have to have the full-time job, how much sacrifice are they going through to do the same distance? Like incredible amounts. So that's why I respect it so much. And that's why they really have to get people on side and pay back afterwards.
It makes it a bit more special too, I think, when you get, your loved ones around it, like crossing that finish line with them versus without them. I think it makes it a lot more special too. But what I'm interested maybe to head in is that last half of the path. You were saying that, you realized that you need to step away a little bit more from the professional side of triathlon and everything. Where was that decision? Where did that come from? And kind of what kind of went from that decision, basically? Where did you go from there?
I don't think I would be. I would still be a pro triathlete right now if I didn't start nerd belts. But I was running along in a race with a Powerade bottle down my tri suit, and I drank like double the amount of any other race on the run, and I ran way better off the bike. And I'm like, shit, maybe I should be doubling my fluid intake. The aid stations aren't giving me enough. So I had 600 mil extra because it was tucked in there. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to carry this though. So I tried a few belts and they were crap. Um, Finally, like just found a few good things in a few different belts, put them together with a sewing machine at home, like one little element of each, and then sent it off. And we did our own little type of material, and then it worked. And now there's heaps of copycats out there of the original Nerd belt, not of the rest of them because we're way ahead on different belts and we went and did other things. But I just didn't realize how much. I just thought I was making a product for myself. I didn't realize I was going to be selling it to people. I just had 100 DMs after this race where I finally wore it. And after the 100th message, I'm like, all right, I'll just make 500. Thinking, yeah, it's easy. You just sell 500 belts and make a website. That's it. But there's so much to it. And it just got to the point where it couldn't be a one-man show. I'd be up till like midnight replying to emails, doing the shipping with Lauren too, my partner. Thank God for her. She helped a lot. And then early hours doing Nerd belts again before training. And I had 2 kids at the time. Oh, one kid at the time. 2 within that process somewhere whilst. So trying to do 2 great things at once, great things. And I say Nerds being great because the sacrifice has been just as big as running a business is just.
It's everything.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
There's as much sacrifice as being a pro athlete, and I had to do both at once whilst having newborns. So I had the trifecta. It was just nasty. Like relationship with my partner suffered at times because it was just so tough on us. And it was all my fault because I've got this huge pro sacrifice thing that I'm doing and now I've added something just as hard. But I just didn't know. I didn't know running a business was like that. I didn't know there was so much to it. So I've learned, and now I've got enough staff that I'm trying to get back to being a full-time athlete in some way. So and the sky is the limit on what I can do in running now because I know I learned how to swim and ride really late and I got really good at it. So yeah, and I could have got a lot better if I'd not started Nerd belts. I was on a journey to get to becoming a lot better and competing with the guys I still looked up to, who I just couldn't compete with yet. Just hovering around that 30th in the world and couldn't get any further because it just would have taken more sacrifice. And then I realized I wasn't willing to do it. I wasn't willing to just sell Nerd belts. That's something that I've enjoyed doing because it's helping people, it's changing the perception of the hydration belt. They're too annoying to carry. Generally 600 mil, it's just going to bounce around, but we've come up with a way, and it's because I had to make something that could put up with the rigors of 320 off the bike, a 320 pace per K for me, and it didn't annoy me, and that's why I had the DMs because people were like, oh, what was that thing you were? And my fueling was just so much better. So yeah, they're 2 cool things, being an athlete and trying to make things that work. And they're both really hard. Like there's always issues.
And you don't know unless you've actually put yourself in that. Like you can't guess, oh, being a pro athlete is going to be hard or like starting a business is going to be hard because you just don't know sometimes. Even if you've gone to like business school, which these days you probably don't need to start something like that. Like you just don't know unless you've actually put yourself in that situation. And do you think because of being a pro athlete, having to have had all of those challenges and overcome everything, do you think that helped you in this situation or in this new venture, or how do you think that intertwined?
I think it helped, but also it just was like, God, I've just been through this.
Yeah.
I got through the hard part. Now I have to start again from the bottom. It's like you can sell out constantly, but that makes things harder because you got to keep up and not sell out. And keeping up means ordering way more than you need to try to account for the growth. So just everyone's like, oh, it must be nice though. You're pulling back on triathlon and now you got a steady income. I'm like, nah, man. Like I was like financially fine. Now I'm like broke because I'm trying to quadruple the stock I stupidly added 10 products because I was so excited by something that worked. And we sampled and I'm like, nah, it's awesome. Let's release it. And then I'm like, well, now I'm quadrupling the stock of 10 products if within 2 years of business and now I'm broke. so now but to be able to do that means there's obviously some success because cash flow issues come for businesses who didn't even add the 10 products. They just had the 1 or 2 and we're only 2 years in. So it's been cool. It's been, we have a head start because I was an ambassador for free, but that doesn't mean that it was a free head start. I did 10 years as an athlete, building a reputation to be able to try and push products on people. But the good thing was we sold a few because people were trying to support an athlete they liked. And then the reason it's been so successful is because they're like, oh shit, it's actually good. He wasn't just someone I wanted to support. And then it just spread really quickly because they work. And yeah, we've gone down a rabbit hole as usual with things like when I'm talking about something, I don't really tend to answer the question.
I
think
love it.
It sucks. I wish it wasn't the case,
No.
but I just get sidetracked. But your question was, I think it was to do with how the career was different at the end, and it was balanced. It was a balancing act, really. That was the key. The key was just like I had to pull back on triathlon because it was just balancing too much. Yeah, it just became really hard. But I was proud of the results I got whilst I was still losing my mind doing some business on the side. But yeah.
You saying now that you have enough athletes to train more and get back into some more intense stuff, I would assume. Where do you think the athlete world is for you now, or where do you want it to go?
Yeah, we've got a team that can do most of my roles now. So people are like, oh, cool, I guess you can get back into triathlon. But that, like, I've had a taste of running now, and I know most of my sponsors actually said, oh, so you're going to do triathlon or running next year? I'm like, oh, no, I'm kind of thinking running because I could still cross train. Like the last month I've done 20 hours a week of training. And that's not normal for a marathon runner. They're usually doing like 14 or 10 to 14. So I'm getting 6 hours extra because I'm doing so much cross training. Well, probably 8 hours extra because it's mostly been about 22 hours in the last few weeks. So I'm super fatigued, but that's a huge amount of base that I've caught up in a short period of time because I've done so much. So yeah, I feel like I could do running, but with the cross training still there from triathlon. I think I've learnt a lot. I think 30 hours is too risky. I kept getting sick. 20, I think I can stay a bit more healthy, and it's still more than any runner's doing. So we'll see how it goes. And as I said, I honestly think the sky's the limit. I haven't done a prep that's been over 100 Ks average yet. So I think the marathon standard is like 160 Ks, maybe 140 to 180, somewhere in that range. So I want to start doing that. I want to see where I can take it. I've got my own training philosophies. I think that it'll work. So I'll just take it as far as I can. Yeah. And as unbelievable as it might seem to others, I'm delusionally optimistic, as I said at the start of the episode, and I have enough confidence in my training philosophy and abilities to see where it goes.
What, for the person listening right now, what is a key takeaway that you want to leave them with?
Key takeaway is if you're trying to do anything great, there's not going to be life balance. So I reckon my advice, if I had my time again, would be focus on it being fun more than doing something great, because I went through the 12 years and the most fulfilling moment was definitely my Ironman win, but it was the embrace with my partner because we went through a lot of sacrifice together, and my daughter was there and we hugged and cried and like, oh my God, you won one finally. Like,
Yeah.
And it was huge, this moment. Like I nearly tear up just talking about it, everything, but it made me realize like, well, it's the connections with people that actually matter. So the goal is not fulfilling. If you achieve it, you're just like, what's next?
Yeah.
It's always a stepping stone. So it's about the people, and I still need, like, this is a takeaway that for me too. Like, I still train alone. I still don't have my group. You have a group. It looks cool. I had a group that I coached. That was really good. That was one of the few best years of my triathlon career, was when I had people to do the training with, and that's so yeah. I think just when you're prioritizing doing something great in life, do it with people and search for balance. There's not going to be balance if you do something great. My advice would be lower the expectations. unless you're like, yeah, because if you are going to truly be great, then you probably can do it with balance sometimes in running or other things because it doesn't take up all the whole week.
Yeah.
If you're in triathlon, I'm sorry, you're screwed. Yeah, that's a tough one to give advice on.
Yeah.
I would say though, get your family involved. Probably don't marry someone who hates triathlon. That would help.
Yeah.
Just marry a triathlete.
That makes it easier, doesn't it? Yeah.
But yeah,
It's like it's very interesting because it's a solo sport, you know, like running, triathlon, you're out there by yourself, but at the same time it doesn't need to be, you know, like you were saying. Like I've been with Runners One for 3 years and I just started training with the squad in January, and I reckon the last like month and a half that I've been with the squad, I'm like, what the hell am I doing for like the last 3 years? Because like just being around other people makes a massive impact. And like you've talked about, you know, the fact that you know now the supports around others is important, and family and whatnot. And I think that's something that when you go after a goal, we've discussed this already, like you do make sacrifices, and a lot of us sacrifice that social support, which I think it's easier said than done. Like unless you've gone through it, it's like it's nice being here on the mic and saying like, oh, you know, train with others, or like don't sacrifice, you know, your relationships or whatever. But like unless you've actually gone and done it and experienced it, because those are the kind of things that are easier to sacrifice, I think, for some people, just
Yeah.
because it's your support system, you're comfortable with them and whatnot, right? And I think in the back of the mind, you know, okay, well, they're still going to be there when it's done. But I think too, like you don't need to make that sacrifice, which is
Yeah, you can bring
important.
friends in, or you
Mm,
can find friends that do it with you. But I think people who get into endurance sports are potentially going running away from some demons, or have some demons they're fighting. But the problem is if you don't make it fun and you make it goal orientated only, and you don't do it with people, you're probably going to just create more demons. And I did that. I trained alone my whole career, and I created new demons. I was running away from some, and because I didn't do it socially enough, like I would do a 5-hour ride staring at a wall, listening to a podcast by myself
yeah.
in the garage,
Mhm.
rather than, you know, be a little less successful and do slightly less, um, I don't know, efficient training. Like you fluff about a bit when when you're social, you waste a bit of time. I couldn't waste the time. My goal was too important. But yeah, looking back, probably would have been more successful and less highly strung if I just did it with friends and didn't take the training as seriously. So yeah, take things less seriously, bring people in. Don't create new demons by doing it all alone.
And where can people find you? Where can people find Nerd Belts? I think most of us listening right now that are endurance already know about that, but where can people drop the socials maybe? And I'll put that in the show description for you listening right now.
Yeah, mostly Instagram. That's where we do everything.
Mhm. Okay,
Personally, and
cool.
Nerd Belts.
Yeah.
Steve McKenna _.
Okay.
Nerd Belts I think it's just at Nerd Belts.
Mhm.
So yeah, find me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
We'll put that
always.
in the show description, everyone, so you can check all of that out. But thank you for coming on the mic. Thank you for coming on the podcast. This was great. And yeah, thank you.
No, thanks for having me. Sorry I talk so much.
I love it.